Hi, my name is Weston Harmon, and this is my informative speech on fishing. When I was in 6th grade, I went on a fishing trip for PE. They should have never lit the fire, because now I'm addicted. I ended up getting out of the bus with my fishing pole and tackle box, and on the first cast, I caught my PB, or personal best. It was a 7-pound largemouth bass, and from that moment on, I can't go a solid week or two without fishing or going to Bass Pro. Today, I am here to inform the students of COM 110 about the sport of fishing. In my speech, I will discuss the history of fishing, fishing reels, and types of lures and plastics. Now, let's push off the dock and get into the history of fishing. My first main point is, of course, the history of fishing. According to alimentrium.org, fishing evolved 500,000 years ago when Homo habilis and or erectus caught them by hand, which can be proven because of fossils found in the earth. During the Middle Ages in Europe, lords owned rivers and lakes. River fishing was strictly regulated and permitted for people in religious communities whose diets were punctuated by periods of fasting. This developed into the construction of ponds, and it began fish farming, which is a common use today. The first trawls appeared in Great Britain in the 17th century. Trawling rapidly expanded, and in the 19th century, when sails were replaced by steam power, boats became bigger and more powerful, so they could go into deeper water. The seafood trade also grew as well. The first big manufacturing fish market was in London at the time, so it was also in Europe, and it was the biggest at the time. Now there are obviously bigger ones. That is some general overview of the history of fishing and commercial fishing. On to my second point is reels. There are 4 types of different reels. There's spinning, spin casting, bait casting, and fly casting. I got this information from boatus.com. The article name was Types of Rods and Reels, and I accessed it on 10/16/2020. Now, I have examples of each type of reel, and I will start off with the spinning type of reel. So the spinning type of reel is a open concept, so it has the line, it has the bail here, it has the spool, and obviously has your handle here. It has your drag as well. And so the spinning wheel is commonly used for any fishing. It could be bass fishing, deep sea fishing. It's a common rod for absolutely anything. And in this case, I have a plastic on here for bass fishing. This is commonly used. I would categorize it as a intermediate. So if you know a little bit about what you're doing, I would recommend probably starting off with one of these. It's probably one of the easiest ones to use. And we will move on to the second type. So the second type of reel is the enclosed, or as they called it, the spin casting. So this is considered the spin casting. Now it has the same mechanics as the other one, but it is enclosed and it has a button instead of the bail in the front. That's the basic for that, and this one is most commonly used for children learning how to fish. And yeah, that's it for that. And for the third is the bait caster. Now this one is more typically used for more experienced fishermen because of the use of backlash that you get if you don't use it properly. So the spool's here, and if you press this button, cast it out there, and your lure hits the water before, the line will actually backlash and cause a bird's nest, and that's not a fun experience. So I would recommend this for more of your experienced fishermen. And the last one is a fly fisherman, or a fly casting reel, which is used for fly fishing. Now flies are very light, and fly reels actually use a different type of line, and it is very difficult from what I hear. I don't own one, and yeah, so I do want to try it in the future. But yes, fly casting is very different, and I prefer to use these. And yeah, so flies are very light. It makes it almost impossible to cast far distances, and that's why they use a fly reel instead of a bait caster or a spinning reel, stuff like that. Moving on to my third point, types of lures and plastics. Now there are many types of lures and plastics, but I will just name the basics. I got this information, some of the information, from fishingnoob.com, and some of it related to the crankbait portion on cananlures.com. So starting off, I have a jig. Now I don't have one on me right now for some reason, but a jig is like a little kind of thing just like this, except it would have more of a single hook instead of the treble hook, and it would be incorporated inside of there. It's used for every type of fish, and yeah. Moving on, the second type would be a spinnerbait. So this is actually the spinnerbait right here. It has that little blade on there, and when it goes through the water, it'll spin around just like that and cause motion in the water. Usually use that during murky times. For the last one, or not the last one, the next one is the spoon. Now I don't have a spoon, but a spoon is basically this little blade right here with a treble hook on it. It kind of does the same motion as a spinnerbait. Plastics. Now these are all plastics right here. They're just melted in that way, and you just use them on a hook. There's different methods you can put them on the hook, but I won't get into that. Now the next one is plugs. Now plugs is just a different way for like a crankbait, a popper bait, or anything. But right here I'll show you this popper bait. So basically you tie your line to it, and when it goes on the water, it'll float in the air and it'll go down and make a popping noise. Right here is a little popper. So it's more used for the fish to come up from the water, under the water, and attacking from beneath. Now The next ones I will be talking about are the buzz baits and the spinner baits. Basically, you put a trailer on these with the plastics, and these spin through the water, cause motion. Okay, moving on. So I have just discussed my third point, different types of lures and plastics. I have discussed all three of my main points: the history of fishing, the different types of fishing reels, and different types of lures and plastics. Fishing is a great way to relax and get rid of stress. Studies have shown that war veterans experience lower levels of stress hormone called cortisol as long as 3 weeks after a weekend fishing trip, according to Fix.com. Thank you for listening to my speech. Hopefully it wasn't too long. Sorry about that, but thank you.